Education 1030 students. I hope everyone's had a great week this past week. So I wanted to kind of start looking at our calendar so you can see where we are and what we're going to be doing. So we are still working in Unit 2. So this week we're actually going to be working in 2 chapters. So we're going to be working in chapter 7 and 8. Now note that this means you are responsible for 2 chapter assignments and 2 quizzes. So I know that seems like a lot, but in order to get all the material in and all the chapters covered, we have to do 2 chapters this week. So we're working in the week of October 25 through the 31st. So that means that both assignments and quizzes will be done on Halloween. So I wanted to also note that chapter 7 and 8 will finish out our Unit 2, which means that starting week November 1st through 7th, we will be working on our Unit 2 exam, which means that you also will have a Unit 2 Exploring the Field, like your second Exploring the Field reflection video is due on November 7th. So those are 2 things that you'll be working on as well. So if you've already had your reflection done, that's perfect. You'll be able to put it in the Dropbox. That's not due to November 7th, but I wanted to bring it up because I wanted you to realize that you have an exam coming up as well as your second video reflection for Exploring the Field. So let's go ahead and jump into chapter 7 and 8 to kind of give you an overview of what you're going to be working on. So we'll go ahead and start with chapter 7. Now 7 and 8 go together. Chapter 7 is going to be talking about how do you study and understand and actually remember. You know, we went through strategies on taking notes, right? And we looked at, well, how do you actually comprehend what you're reading? Well, now we're going to teach you how do you study and prepare for exams and projects and tests and those sorts of things. And then chapter 8 is going to be how to successfully study for test and how to beat test anxiety. So really chapter 7 go together. So like I mentioned, because it's 2 chapters, it's going to be a little tough, but I know you can do it and you can persevere and get through it. So let's start out with what chapter 7 is. Chapter 7 is really looking at improving memory, right? Giving you some techniques and strategies to help you to remember this. We really want to promote what we call deep learning, where it's more than surface level memorization, but you're making connections and you're able to have a deeper level of understanding of the material. So for your learning resources, I have the reading organizer. This time you do not have to complete it as far as turning it in to me. I will ask for them when we do our Unit 2 exam. So remember, the reading organizer is chapters 5, 6, 7, and 8. When I give you an email saying, hey, turn those in, that will give you extra bonus points on your overall grade average. So just make sure that you look out for that email, but it won't be time until we do our exam for Unit 2. I also give you 3 videos. I feel like if you're a visual learner, this can be very helpful for you because, again, this chapter is all about how you make connections and deeper understanding. Well, when your instructor or professor is giving you extra tools in the course, that's in addition to the text, this is really going to help you make those connections. So one of the videos for chapter 7 is some study habits, like how do you actually study so you can be successful? And we want to talk about highly successful in your courses. The second one is really about how do you stay focused, right? We have to concentrate. Well, how do we build that focus and concentration, and what does that look like? So it gives you some tools there to talk about. And then the next one is about your memory, like how do you triple your memory? Sometimes this video's been acting strange, so if it pulls up and it doesn't pull up correctly, let me know and I'll try to go in. I've already kind of looked at it once and fixed it, so just let me know, that way we can take care of it. Now, obviously you have your chapter 7 quiz. Use these videos and your PowerPoint to help you. Again, those PowerPoint slides go along perfectly with your textbook, and all of the questions from the quizzes are coming from the textbook. So that's why I always encourage you to look at those slides. So for Chapter 7, you will have your quiz. Again, it will close on Thursday, October 31st at 11:30 p.m. You will actually be doing a discussion board for Chapter 7. You will watch a video, and this video is called Study Less, Study Smart. After you complete that and you watch the video, you will be completing the discussion board. So the discussion board actually has questions. So you see down here, it says, after you watch the video, go to Study Less, Study Smart. And it'll bring you to the actual discussion board. You can also get to the discussion board by hitting communication and discussions, and you will see it. But one of the things I want us to discuss and talk about in the discussion board is really thinking about how you study, right? So what would an actual study session look like to you? Where and what time of day do you feel you study best? So for instance, some people are really awake in the morning. They feel really vibe. They're morning people. Maybe you have time in the morning, or maybe you can only do it late at night. And also, when you're thinking about your study sessions and what they look like, think about the distractions around you. And I want you to think about what is distracting you and list those 3 distractions. How do you deal with them, and how do you overcome them? Now remember, I gave you the rubric, and in the rubric it states if you want to get full points on that, you have to respond to at least 2 other classmates' discussion posts. So when we're engaging in discussions, we're really going a step further. We're not going to put, oh, great job, or I do the same thing. When we're talking about discussion, think about if we were in class having a discussion. You must add something, right? So really read what they have to say and really think about how you could respond to that and engage with them so we can keep the discussion going. And the rubric explains kind of what we're looking for. When we say neutral response, that means that you're really not adding anything to the discussion. So that's what we're looking for. And the rubric is a really good place to start before you start responding, because I want you to see how you'll be graded on that section of the discussion board. So now that we covered Chapter 7, I want to go in and look at Chapter 8, because as I said, they're really going together. They complement each other well, so it's a really good idea for us to kind of work on these simultaneously together, I think. So maybe read the chapters back to back, and I feel like that will help you before you start your assignments. So again, Chapter 8 is going to be underneath Unit 2 section in the course. So Chapter 8 is, now that you remembered, we give you some techniques and strategies on how to find deeper meaning and connections with the content, and gave you strategies on how to build your concentration and focus. Then we move into preparing for the tests. And how do we take them successfully? What does that look like? So what are some strategies we can give you to prepare you in various courses? Because tests, not all tests are going to be multiple choice or true and false. Some of them you may have to do, say, a discussion, or maybe you have to write a summary paper, or maybe you have to do a skills-based test in, say, a lab, or maybe in math where you have to work the problems out. So you're really using those application, right? So tests are going to look different in various courses. So you have to be able to prepare successfully for each different kind of subject matter and various tests. So really walk you through that. We also talk about the emotional aspect of what it means to have test anxiety, and a lot of us have experienced this in our life. So one of the things that I give you underneath learning resources is a test anxiety quiz. Now this is not graded, but this is a really good way for you to kind of gauge where you are if this is something you've never done before or you're not aware of. So maybe you have test anxiety and this is something that you've struggled with and you're aware of it, or maybe you're not. So when we do a test anxiety quiz, there are certain criteria we look at, right? So we give you statements, and you're going to read the statement and you're going to select, okay, from the drop-down menu, yes or no. So if you look here, there's various categories or sections we concentrate on. So we look at the mental aspect of test anxiety, We look at the physical aspect, emotional, and then we also draw in and look at your personal habits, right? Because all of these are connected when we talk about anxiety. So when you take this test, you are going to really try to be honest with yourself, because it's not graded and you're not submitting this, but this is going to help you complete your Chapter 8 assignment. So think about if these statements really apply to you, and honestly answer yes if they do. And when you're thinking about these, think about how it applies to you the day before an exam, like how you would feel, or hours before, or even while you're taking the exam and you're in the middle of it, right? And if they don't apply to you, you're going to hit no on that. And what you're going to do is it's going to see how many you actually responded yes to. And if you have several in each category, you most likely have test anxiety. Now, after you complete that quiz, I do have some really neat videos here that can help you. So one of them is really talking about how can you alleviate some of that stress. Now, a little stress is okay. A little test anxiety is okay, but a lot of it is not. But if you're one that gets anxious very easily, this video really talks to you about some strategies to kind of help you beat that. And then we go a step further and we start looking at, well, how do I be highly successful? What would that look like? So what are some strategies if I want to earn not just a passing grade of C, but how would I do what we call test prep? And what does that look like preparing up to the day of the exam? So I find that's very helpful. Also, I have the reading organizer in here that goes along with Chapter 8. These are also good ways for you to study and improve your exam grades. So again, that's another resource, which is something that you're going to be talking about in Chapter 7 and 8. Now, you obviously have your Chapter 8 quiz you will be taking. Now, I wanted to go over your actual assignment. Now, remember, I said that the test anxiety quiz, you're not going to actually submit it to Dropbox, but it's going to help you with the activity for Chapter 8. So, Chapter 8 activity looks at two things. It looks at your test-taking skills, and then it looks at your college success, okay, and how these two are connected. So to do this assignment, you're going to have to use Chapter 8 for text-based evidence responses, meaning that we're going to find our answers in the textbook, right? That's what we're relying on. So on the first section in test taking, you start asking and going back to those questions on a test anxiety quiz. Do you think that you are a good test taker or a poor one? And then you're going to elaborate why. Again, connecting back to that quiz you took. Do you experience test anxiety? Go back and look at your answers in those statements on the quiz. What do you think some of the reasons are? Look at those specific categories in the test anxiety quiz. Which one did you score the most yeses on, right? And then we're going to look at the actual chapter. So go back into your reading organizer, go back into your textbook in those notes, and think about where it starts talking about those strategies of relaxing, right? What did you learn in the textbook, Chapter 8, that's really going to help you to improve those test grades? Now, the second part of Chapter 8 is really looking at your college success. How do you be successful, right? So, thinking of the courses you have this term, I want you to figure out which ones do you find the most difficult. And maybe you find you're looking back at your grades, which I suggest you doing, and then you're seeing what are your quiz grades, what are your exam grades, you know, and that can tell you a lot. Like if you're doing really great on the assignments, but you're doing really poorly on the test quizzes, you have to think about why are you not successful? Why do you find that course difficult? Is it the subject matter? Maybe you've always had trouble with science or math. Or is it because you don't know how to prepare successfully for tests? Or it could be you have test anxiety. So these are the things that we're really thinking about when we say college success, about the difficulty of the course and why is it actually difficult. That's what you have to really hone in on and figure out. And then lastly, if you feel that you have test anxiety, right, what are some things that you've learned, some strategies that are going to help you stay focused? Also, taking it a step further, looking at those positive self messages that we talk about about how you can not only stay focused, but to kind of relieve some of that stress, which is very helpful. Okay, so that's what you will do for chapter 7 and 8 this week. Again, both of them are due on October 31st, so that's Thursday, 11:30 p.m. So you're going to have to try to get started early. Again, all assignments always open the Friday before, so they open on Friday, the October 25th. So that will give you a little extra time, and I suggest you work on it over the weekend. That way you can make sure you get the assignment done in time, because you have 2 quizzes and 2 chapter assignments. All right, as always, if you ever need anything, please feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to help you. And until next time, guys, take care.